target language-nya yang benar saja. Yang benar saja, kami semua tahu tidak mungkin minta tolong pada Chester. In the search language above, it is written, we all know you don't ask Chester for a favor. While in the target language is written, yang benar saja, kami semua tahu tidak mungkin minta tolong pada Chester. Penerjemah menambahkan frasa yang benar saja di bahasa tujuannya untuk membuat teks itu menjadi natural. Di samping itu, kalau misalnya penerjemah tidak menambahkan kalimat yang benar saja, maka kalimat itu akan menjadi awkward. Thank you. The next material will be explained by my friend Fitriani Martin.
Okay, thank you, Mutiara. I will explain about discussion of gain in phrase. In the storage language above, it is written, well, all know you don't ask. We all know you don't ask Chester for favors, while in the target language is written. Yang benar saja, kami semua tahu tidak mungkin minta tolong pada Chester. The translator added a phrase of yang benar saja in the target language to make the text as natural as possible. Besides that, it will sound awkward if the translator translates it word for word without adding that phrase. It is also because the translator wanted to make an aesthetic form of the text. Okay, definition of loss. Loss is the result of spread culture because there are not two living languages that can have the same culture. This suggests that there are culture concepts which are unique to specific languages. At times, it is realized the culture differ radically, such that their languages cannot be reconciled, and as a result, some concepts are sacrificed and thus lost. Akers Nida, 1974. At this point, languages just do not correspond. So we must be prepared to sacrifice certain formal necessity for the sake of content. Okay, I will explain in bahasa. Nah, kalau loss di sini adalah hasil dari pemisahan culture karena tidak ada dua bahasa yang bisa memiliki dua culture yang sama. Nida mengatakan pada poin ini bahasa tidak bisa merespon, jadi kita harus mempersiapkan untuk menghasilkannya. Okay, discussion of loss in word. Search language. Yeah, it didn't hurt. I tell him you're sort of like a giant airbag. First, 2010 target language, tidak sakit kok, jawabku Bapak seperti kantong udara raksasa. Wadani 2011. Discussion of loss in word. In the dot above, the sentence in the source yeah, it didn't hurt. I tell him you're sort of like a giant airbag. And tidak sakit kok, jawabku Bapak seperti kantong udara raksasa. In the target language, it can be seen that the translator did not translate the word for search language into target language. The translator did the process the way because the italicized word mentioned before it just an addressing word, so it does not make any difference if the translator lost the word. Besides that, the context, the both version of strip are still the same. The important one is the readers can get the information that Ned reaches his friends to the faithful. He hits his principal Nichols, who does not stand by for any horsing around. Ned tells that the principal look like a giant or big, but he is not angry. He asks his student to move along their classes. Okay, I will explain in bahasa. Contoh kalimat di situ kan bahasa sumber. Yeah, it didn't hurt. It tell him you're sort of like a giant airbag. Artinya, ya tidak sakit kataku padanya. Kamu seperti kantong udara raksasa. Bahasa target tidak sakit kok. Jawabku Bapak seperti kantong udara raksasa. Kalimat dalam sumber ya tidak sakit kataku padanya. Kamu seperti Kamu seperti kantong udara raksasa dan tidak sakit kok, jawabku. Bapak seperti kantong udara raksasa dalam bahasa sasaran. Terlihat bahwa penerjemah tidak menerjemahkan kata yang dari bahasa sumber ke bahasa sasaran. Penerjemah melakukan proses seperti itu karena kata yang dicetak miring tadi hanyalah kata pengelamatan. Jadi tidak ada bedanya jika penerjemah kehilangan kata tersebut. Selain itu, konteks di kedua versi strip masih sama. Dalam contoh yang seperti ini, kita dapat melihat penerjemah menghilangkan beberapa kata dari bahasa target ke bahasa sumber dan tidak mengubah apapun dalam maksud kalimat. Thank you. I give back to moderator.
Thank you, Fitriani. And the next material will be explained by my friend Rizky Hidayah Lubis.
Thank you. Discussion of loss in praise. In the data above, there is an outrage by net suddenly right on so blank 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 it walks Ellen. Dan tiba-tiba datanglah Ellen. In the target language, this data is included to the phrase class loss because the translator doesn't put the phrase right on so. In such language to target language, or it can be said that the translator lost this phrase. Naturalness for a translation to be acceptable is to use a natural form of target text. Based on this information, the research concludes that the translator purposely lost the phrase right on so to get a natural translation, so it can be more comfortable to be read by the readers. Nah, kan di sini kita tahu kalau penerjemahnya itu ingin menghilangkan frasa. Kan kita tahu arti frasa itu gabungan dari beberapa kata yang non predikatif. Jadi tujuannya penerjemah di sini tuh ingin mengubah sumber bahasanya jadi lebih natural gitu. Jadi kayak nggak berlebihan, jadi kayak langsung ke intinya aja. Kayak agar mudah dipahami, agar mudah dibaca oleh pembacanya. Jadi sumber bahasa awalnya kan di sini suddenly right on so blank 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 in walks Ellen. Nah itu kan kalau kayak berlebihan gitu. Jadi dihilangkan right on so-nya. Jadi tiba-tiba datanglah Ellen. Yang dihilangkannya itu right on so. Rasanya
bahasa
right on so.
sumber.
Bahasa sumbernya right on so itu yang dihilangkan. Tuh. Jadi target penerjemahnya ini suddenly
Bahasa sasaran.
Jadi bahasa sasarannya itu suddenly blank 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 involves Ellen. Itu tujuan penerjemahnya agar lebih mudah dibaca oleh pembacanya dan lebih kelihatan natural. And then discussion of loss in clause. In the data above, it tells that Ned wants to avoid the test. It also can be read that in the search language text, there is an outrage 25 minutes until Mrs. Godfrey brings down the summer school and hammer on me. Meanwhile, in the target language, it is written 20 menit sampai Bu Godfrey membawaku ke sekolah musim panas. It is clearly seen that the translator purposely wiped the underlined clause out. Nah, I will speak in bahasa. Nah, di sini tujuan penerjemahnya itu ingin menghapus klausa, kan? Karena di sini kita kan tahu net itu ingin menghindari ujian. Nah, jadi sumber bahasanya itu kan 25 minutes until Mrs. Godfrey brings down the summer school and jadi targetnya itu
bahasa sasaran.
Jadi bahasa sasarannya itu like this. 20 menit sampai Bu Godfrey membawaku ke sekolah musim panas. So kalau bahasa Inggrisnya 25 minutes until Mrs. Godfrey brings me down the summer school and brings me down the summer. Sampai situ aja. Jadi yang dihilangkan itu hammer on me, kausanya yang dihilangkan. Okay, thank you. I will give to Mutiara.
Okay, thank you for Fitriani and Rizky Hidayah for the explanation. I think that's enough for our presentation. I give back to ma'am. Thank you.
Continue, please. Next group. Next group, please.
Okay, ma'am. Share screen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone. We here want to explain about aspect of linguistic meaning of translation. I'm Rina Astari.
I'm Lutfi Renanda.
I'm Irham Alefisihaan.
And I'm Winda Aulia.
And we are from group 11.
So, welcome to our group. Have you look around? We are from group 11. Please listen to us.
We're gonna talk about aspect of linguistic. In translation also we talk about meaning.
Welcome to our group. We got what you need. If you do not understand, please feel free to ask.
We're gonna learn it in fun ways, so don't forget it, take notes and remember it.
Okay,
Welcome to our group. Have you looked around? We are from group 11. Please listen to us. We're gonna talk about aspects of linguistics. In translation also, we'll talk about meaning. Welcome to our group. We got what you need. If you do not understand, please feel free to ask. We're gonna learn it in a fun way. Don't forget to take notes and remember it.
Okay, guys, we already sent our PowerPoint slide, so of course you already understand, right? Right, guys? You already understand, right? Okay, so we're gonna explain it more. If you wanna know more, please listen to us. If you wanna know more, just clap your hand. If you wanna know more, just clap your hand. If you wanna know more about our topic, if you wanna know more, just clap your hand. Come on, guys, show me. If you wanna know more, just clap your hand. If you wanna know more,
Ayo
just
tepuk
clap
tangan
your
guys.
hand. If you wanna know more about our topic, if you wanna know more, just clap your hand. Okay, let us explain about our topic. The first material will be explained by Lutfi Renanda. For Lutfi, time and place are yours.
Okay, guys, I will explain about morphology. In the translation, morphological aspects is an important part of note. Words are an important part of translation related to with the achievement adequate harmony. Morphology is the study of word formation in linguistics called morpheme. Morpheme is the smallest unit that has meaning or grammatical function. And then word and morpheme are different. Words are consist in morpheme, but morpheme is not always about word. Jadi dalam penerjemahan aspek dalam penerjemahan aspek morfologi merupakan bagian yang penting untuk diperhatikan. Kata merupakan bagian penting dalam penerjemahan terkait dengan pencapaian kesepadanan yang memadai. Morfologi merupakan ilmu dari formasi kata. Biasa di dalam linguistik disebut dengan morfem. Morfem merupakan unit terkecil atau bagian terkecil yang memiliki makna atau fungsi gramatikal, fungsi tata bahasa. Kata dan morfem itu berbeda. Kata-kata biasanya mengandung morfem, tapi morfem tidak selalu tentang kata. Next slide, please, Nap. And then morpheme is an important part of linguistic knowledge for translate to master in translating. Morpheme in English is different with Indonesian and impacts the formation of the word between the source text and target text. Jadi, morfologi merupakan bagian dari pengetahuan linguistik yang penting untuk dikuasai oleh para penerjemah dalam menerjemahkan. Morfem Inggris dengan morfem Indo itu berbeda dan dapat berdampak pada proses terbentuknya pemaknaan kata antara teks target dengan antara teks sumber dengan teks target. Next slide, please. Here is the example of yes, ma'am. Teks sasaran. Here is the example of morphology. We use word unavailable. So unavailable is written as a word but consists 3 morphemes. The first morpheme is an means not, and then the second is avail. The second morpheme is avail. Avail means utility, benefit, and use. The third morpheme is able. Able means able to be and fit to be. Jadi contoh di sini kita menggunakan kata unavailable. Unavailable dalam bahasa Indonesia diartikan jadi tidak tersedia. Unavailable ini terdapat atau mengandung 3 morfem. Morfem yang pertama adalah an. An di sini artinya tidak. Jadi an di sini bisa mengubah bentuk kata yang tadinya positif jadi berbentuk negatif. Terus morfem yang kedua avail. Avail ini artinya berguna. Berguna atau kegunaan, manfaatnya. Lalu morfem yang ketiga able. Able di sini artinya adalah bisa digunakan atau digunakan untuk itu. Okay, I will give back to the moderator.
Thank you, Firananda, for explanation. The next material will be explained by Irham Aliafi. For Irham, times and pairs are yours.
Okay, thank you, Rina Astari. Now we go to the types of morphemes. Yeah, from the example that my friend has explained before, we know that morpheme can affect meaning. Good morpheme understanding. Good morpheme understanding can be means to avoid the wrong translation. So if morpheme knowledge, then we prevent the failure in translation. So there are 2 types of and morpheme. And as you see in the third numbering, we have lexical morpheme. Lexical morpheme is included in free morpheme. So first, I'm going to explain about the free morpheme. So free morpheme is morpheme that can stand alone with specific meaning. It means it doesn't need an free morpheme only has 1 morpheme. Like it doesn't need any morpheme anymore. Another morpheme, I mean, for example, like need, day, week, lie, or see. It just has 1 morpheme, but it's meaningful. And in free morphemes, there are okay. We go to bound morpheme first. So bound morpheme is morpheme that cannot stand alone, or in Indonesia we call it imbuhan. So it's not a word like free morpheme, but it helps the word to be meaningful. And the example of bound morpheme is like on, nas, and brief. Okay, we go to lexical morpheme. Lexical morpheme, as I said before, it's included in free morpheme. It's included in free morpheme. So yeah, it's just one word. It's like nouns, verbs, adjectives that has only one morpheme. It is lexical morpheme. Next slide, please. Okay, functional morpheme. Functional morpheme is also included in free morpheme, like prepositions, article, conjunction. It helps the grammar. It helps the grammar in a sentence. For example, like conjunction but. Like, I know you are good, but you're also lazy. So yeah, but helps the sentence. But helps the translation in that sentence. And then derivational morpheme, as I said in bound morpheme, derivational morpheme and inflectional morpheme are included in bound morpheme. It's like imbuhan in bahasa Indonesia. Okay, that's all from me. I give it back to moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Irham. The next material will be explained by Winda Aulia. For Winda, time and place are yours. Winda Aulia.
Okay, thank you, Rina. Now we're jump to the aspects of syntax. So it become an unavoidable part in translation. It is related to the equivalent of meaning and grammatical, which should be achieved through translation. So the lexical elements in translation have an adequate equivalent between the source text and the target text. So syntax relate to how words can be combined together in the form of phrase and sentences so that it can determine the principles of how words can combine or not combined in determining meaning. Jadi sintaksis ini menjadi bagian yang nggak bisa dihindari dalam penerjemahan. Ini berkaitan dengan ekuivalen atau padanan makna dan gramatik yang semestinya dapat dicapai melalui penerjemahan. Unsur-unsur leksikal dalam penerjemahan ini mempunyai ekuivalen atau padanan yang memadai antara teks sumber dengan teks sasaran. Jadi, sintaksis ini terkait dengan bagaimana kata dapat digabungkan bersama dalam bentuk frase maupun kalimat, sehingga dapat menentukan prinsip-prinsip bagaimana kata dapat digabungkan atau tidak dapat digabungkan dalam menentukan makna. Next, the difference in structure in a sentence between source text and target text make the syntactic aspect one of the determinants of how sentence or clause means equivalence is determined. In addition, the grammatical pattern in source text can also determine how the translation should be done. At the level of simple sentences, it is possible to translate simply and easily. For example, John goes to market. So it is a source text. And John pergi ke pasar. It is a target text. So the sentence structure is usually translated because of the sentence structure on source text, John goes to market. With target text, John pergi ke pasar is a simple sentence that consists of subject, verb, and complement. So the structure between source text and target text is the same. Jadi perbedaan struktur dalam sebuah kalimat antara teks sumber dengan teks sasaran ini menjadikan aspek sintaksis ini menjadi salah satu penentu bagaimana makna kalimat atau klausa itu ditentukan ekuivalennya atau kesepadanannya. Nah, contohnya itu pada kalimat John goes to market. Ini kan teks sumbernya. Kemudian John pergi ke pasar. Ini target teksnya. Jadi susunan kalimat di contoh ini tuh diterjemahkan dengan mudah karena susunan kalimat pada teks sumber dengan teks sasaran itu sederhana yang terdiri dari subjek, John, verb, gas, sama complement tadi atau keterangan, market. Jadi susunan kalimat ini antara source text sama target text itu sama. However, the difference in the way of translation is found in the sentence. The most complicated stress is determined by human behavior. So it is a source text. And stress yang paling rumit ditentukan oleh perilaku manusia. It is the target text. In this example, the translation doesn't necessarily translate as in the first example. It is because in the second example has complex sentence structure. That consists of a subject in the form of noun phrase, the most complicated stress, and a group of verbs is determined, and a complement human behavior. So thus the syntax gives direction in determining which part to translate. In this case, it appears from the subject form, the most complicated stress cannot be translated into a word forward translation as in first example, because if the most complicated stress is translated into word forward translation, it will be yang paling rumit stress, not stress yang paling rumit. In addition, the verb is determined, which is translate to be ditentukan, and change from a verb phrase is determined in English to a verb ditentukan in bahasa. Jadi pada penerjemahan yang kedua, pada contoh yang kedua itu penerjemahan nggak bisa menerjemahkan pada contoh yang kayak kalimat pertama. Ini karena bahwa kalimat kedua ini mempunyai struktur yang lebih kompleks lagi. Yang tadi subjeknya berupa noun phrase, nomina, the most complicated stress, terus verbnya is determined, dan pelengkapnya human behavior. Kalau dilihat kan subjek the most complicated stress ini nggak bisa diterjemahkan dalam bentuk word forward kan, kata demi kata, kayak yang di contoh pertama. Karena kalau misalkan diterjemahkan the most complicated stress dengan kata demi kata, nanti jadinya bukan stress yang paling rumit, tapi yang paling rumit stress. Okay, I think it's enough about my explanation about aspect of syntax. I'll give it back to moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Winda Aulia. So I will explain the last in aspect of linguistic. Please, next slide, Tavisa. So, aspect of semantics. Semantic is a branch of linguistics that looks at the meaning of word and the language, including the symbol use of language. It also provides the multiply meanings of the word as well. One of the most significant aspects of translation is semantics. The concept of meaning in translation is directly tied to the semantic issues. Meaning of word is also determined by its relationship with the other words in the certain context. Jadi yang kita tahu semantics ini adalah cabang linguistik yang mempelajari makna atau arti dari setiap kata. Justru pasti ini ada hubungannya dalam translation dikarenakan pemilihan kata yang tepat pada translation itu sangat berpengaruh dari hasil translation-nya. Contohnya, next slide please, Nafisa. For example, in the search language, the sentence 1, the horse run fast. Translate to the target language in the sentence 1, kuda berlari dengan cepat. In the search language sentence 2, the water runs through the path. Translate to be air mengalir melalui jalan. The words run in the sentence 1 and the sentence 2 have different meaning because they have different subject. In the sentence 1, the word runs means berlari, while in the sentence 2, it means mengalir. Jadi contohnya itu pada kalimat pertama, kata runs ini diartikan berlari karena dia itu memiliki subjeknya itu kuda, sedangkan pada runs yang kedua itu artinya mengalir dikarenakan subjeknya itu air. Pemilihan kata yang tepat itu untuk menggambarkan air ini yaitu mengalir. Let's see another example. The first sentence in the search language, they will carry your medicine here. translate to the target language, mereka akan membawa obatmu ke sini. Next slide, please, Nafisa. And the second sentence, I will carry your baby, go to the outside. Translate to the aku akan menggendong bayimu pergi keluar. The words carry in the sentence 1 and the sentence 2 have different meaning because they have different objects. And the sentence 1, the word carry means membawa, while in the sentence 2, it means menggendong.